Mr. Wooten joined the staff of North Carolina Farm Bureau in 1994. He served as assistant to the president and then was elected as president in December of 1999. I want to say that he is well-traveled and has done so on the for the benefit of agriculture in North Carolina with travel to Europe, Africa, South America, and again, all promoting trade for North Carolina agriculture. He is a person who's developed leadership for the future. He's a strong advocate of people giving back to their communities and the state that has provided them with opportunities. And Mr. Wooten, you and your wife Laura reside in Raleigh, our state capital, have 3 children and 5 grandchildren. And I bet you could talk all day about those grandchildren.
I can talk all day about 5 grandchildren, but that's what we're here to talk about.
I know.
Morning, Linda. Thank you for having me on so very much.
Well, thank you for your time and for your expertise in this area. And we are here to talk about the Atlantic Coast Pipeline. And just for the benefit of our listeners, and we've had multiple interviews about the Atlantic Coast Pipeline, but that is the pipeline that is coming from West Virginia down to North Carolina, down through this area of Wilson and Johnston, all the way down to Robeson County, which is going to bring 37 miles here in Johnston County of pipeline, bringing natural gas out of Pennsylvania, Ohio, and down throughout. And Mr. Wooten, we want to talk to you as a way to sort of give us an update. And what is the update in the current status of the Atlantic Coast Pipeline, and when will we see it placed in service?
Well, this is a very big project. Obviously, if you're going to have economic development for our farms and rural communities and businesses in North Carolina, particularly eastern North Carolina, when you talk about infrastructure, you got to talk about rural broadband connectivity. You got to talk about good roads, good highways. Certainly, infrastructure development is important, but these public works projects, like bringing natural gas, are just crucial if we're going to have economic development and a good quality of life, particularly in areas that need some economic development. And along the I-95 corridor, particularly east of the I-95 corridor, certainly it's important. This Atlantic Coast Pipeline, it's going to take 2 years to build it. It'll come online when it's completed in late 2019. Obviously, there's a lot of not only hurdles they're crossing some hurdles now. The Federal Regulatory Commission, or FERC, has approved the application so that they can continue moving forward. Obviously, you saw last week where our state Division of Environmental Quality has asked for some more information and help in terms of some environmental studies that need to be done. And I think the builders of this pipeline understand this. They want it done in an environmentally sound way. Dominion as well as Duke Energy are instrumental in this project, and so it's moving along. Obviously, Linda, anytime that you have a big project of this nature where there's always a threat of some eminent domain on some users, there's always controversy.
Right.
This project is not without the controversy, but it's moving along. We believe at North Carolina Farm Bureau that it is a worthwhile project and that it needs to be continued, and it needs to be. We need to work to help make it successful at the end of 2019.
Okay. And yes, you referenced the October 13th milestone when the FERC, or the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission, when they approved the project, and that has just happened this month, and of course that's a big milestone. So will North Carolinians receive natural gas from the Atlantic Coast Pipeline? Some have said that the gas is going to be exported. So can you explain that?
Let me just say, if North Carolinians and if our local communities and our businesses and our homes and our farms were not going to receive the benefit of this, then certainly I nor the North Carolina Farm Bureau would be in favor of this pipeline, Linda. Obviously, if the pipeline is running across your farm or through your property, whether you're a farmer or not, this is a high pressure, big pipeline. It is like you will not be able to tap individually from a farm or a business off of this pipeline. This is a huge pipeline, high pressure, is bringing a lot of gas, and what we've been working on with the builders of this pipeline is making sure that there are taps along the way so that our local distribution companies like Piedmont Natural Gas, I understand Rocky Mount, the city of Rocky Mount, others are going to be able to tap on. So it's almost like you've got an interstate highway running by, but you can't run your individual driveway out to the interstate highway. You've got to get off the ramp, get on a state road, and that's what we're going to. That's what we're working on, is making sure that the local distributors have taps that they can get gas off of here that will benefit our farms and businesses and communities along this pipeline route.
Yeah, that's a good illustration there, using the interstate. So, will farmers, and we all care so much about our farmers. I mean, they are the backbone of every community, and will they and the landowners be compensated for having the pipeline buried on their land?
Most definitely, Linda. The builders of this pipeline are negotiating. They're negotiating with all the landowners, whether they're farmers or not farmers, about the right of way. I'm not going to get into all the details of the treatment. You know that they have to treat them fairly, and it's a negotiation one-on-one. It's not a group negotiation. It's one-on-one. They're going to be paid for the easement. They're going to be compensated for their crop loss, on and on and on. So that's an individual basis. But certainly, it's important that for our farmers, that this pipeline, that we get natural gas in parts of eastern North Carolina now that do not have natural gas, because those farmers that are drying sweet potatoes, curing sweet potatoes, drying tobacco, warming greenhouses, warming chickens and turkeys and pigs, those that are having to pay for propane are at a competitive disadvantage to those farmers that have access to natural gas. And so it's a competitive issue there, and it's something that we have been working on to make sure that our farmers have access at some point as this project moves forward.
Can farmers use their heavy equipment over the pipeline? And can you talk a little bit about the ground covering the line and how that's going to take place?
Yes, our farmers, there's been a lot of information. There's a lot of been, in some cases, misinformation about farmers, what farmers can't and can't do. That pipeline is going to be buried, at least my understanding, 4 feet deep. They have you can't grow trees over top of the pipeline. You can't build houses or barns, but certainly farmers can continue to farm.
Right.
As I said, there'll be some losses paid for the disturbance of the soil, and but you can drive trucks and tractors and that type of equipment across the pipeline after it's buried. It's someone said you couldn't drive tractor trailers. It's certainly my understanding that 80,000 pound is a legal limit on most of our roads and highways in North Carolina. If you're legal, you can drive that across those, across the pipeline.
Right. Yeah, that is good information, and like you say, there's been some misinformation out about that. So I know you've already talked about that individuals can't tap into the line if it crosses their land, or we individually we can't, but we leave that to the utilities companies, and you've already mentioned Piedmont and Rocky Mount Utilities and on. But will these distribution utilities, will they be expanding their networks to reach more customers? Do you think it will reach more customers with this new supply of gas?
Certainly, that is the reason that we're involved in. That's the reason I'm working in favor of getting this pipeline. Yes, we have met not only with Piedmont Natural Gas, we've met with the Rocky Mount distributors. We've met in our office here with Duke Energy. All the people that are involved in this project they know without doubt that these taps have to be there for these local distributors to get natural gas off of that pipeline to our rural communities, our farms and businesses, or we will not continue to support this. And certainly we've been assured that we're working with them, and so that's where we are, Linda. I just think that this is important. If you think about it, we've got to have this infrastructure, as I said, along with highways and roads and bridges. We've got to have good electricity. We've got to have efficient energy usage, and this pipeline just brings another source of energy to the state of North Carolina. We're a fast-growing state, about 10 million people. The industry of agriculture needs to grow. We are a very important ag state.
Yes.
If we're going to add value-added processing to those commodities that we already produce, then you got to have natural gas, or the numbers won't work.
Yes, Larry Wooten, President of North Carolina Farm Bureau, you've done a great job in getting across your positive feelings toward the Atlantic Coast Pipeline, and you've done a really good job in layman's terms talking about the great benefit this will have on our farming community and just our community altogether. So thank you for that, and thank you for your time being on the air with us today. And it's a great year to be a Wolfpack fan, isn't it?
It's a great year to be a Wolfpack fan, Linda, and thank you very much. And certainly, obviously, as I said earlier, when you have a project of this nature, we don't expect 100% of the people to be in favor of it, but
right.
I think the overall good of this project certainly outweighs any negative. And I would urge your listeners to get the facts. Don't just take what hearsay or what someone says. Get the facts and study it and look at it and talk with people that know about this project and get good information out before you start criticizing it too heavily.
Thank you, Mr. Wooten. Thank you for your time, and I hope you have a great day.
Thank you very much.